Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to my next Pokemon sets video. This time it's going to be featuring Hypno because today is Halloween, as a lot of you may know, and it's kind of a scary Pokemon, right? But anyways, all three of the sets that I have for you today actually make use of Substitute in one way or another, and it's really cool to see how all of them work, and how useful that move is for this Pokemon. But anyways, ignoring the laughter of my roommates, let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So first off, Hypno is a mono-psychic type Pokemon introduced in Generation 1, so you could say that this guy has been around forever. As to the abilities, the first one that it gets is known as Insomnia, which is an awesome ability that makes it so that Hypno can never fall asleep. And with its psychic typing and this ability, you could say that Hypno is probably one of the best Amoonguss counters because it not only hits it for super effective damage, but it's immune to Spore, so that's something to always keep in mind when using this guy. As for its next ability, it is known as Forewarn, which basically warns the user of this Pokemon of the strongest move that your opponent has when Hypno switches in. It can be kind of useful just because of the fact that if you're looking for a specific type of set that your opponent may be having, you could check for that a little bit with Forewarn, but more often than not, this ability really isn't as useful as the other two. And lastly, Hypno gets the ability Inner Focus as its Dream Mode ability, which is very cool because it allows Hypno to not be flinched. And since Hypno isn't that fast, Inner Focus could be useful against Pokemon that are, known to flinch and things like that. So it can be useful, but I think Insomnia is overall the best one to have just because you can't be put to sleep. As for the stats, Hypno has some pretty good defenses overall, but in terms of attacking power, it's really not that great. 85 HP and 115 special defense are freaking amazing for taking hits from the special side. 70 defense really isn't as useful, but if you just put a bunch of EVs into that, you should be fine since your special defense is so naturally high. So you can get pretty much of a mixed wall set just by investing into physical defense. And 85 HP, as I said, is pretty good too. But 73 attack and 73 special attack could use some work. You won't be doing too much damage from either of those sides unless you heavily invest or use one of Hypno's many boosting moves, which it has plenty of. So in order to be effective with Hypno from a physical or special standpoint, you're probably going to need a turn or two to set up in order to do that effectively. And as for its speed, it's only base 67, so it really isn't the fastest Pokemon in the world. And I know people say that I say that in like every single video, but it's just something that works well in the way I talk about things. But anyways, with the 67 base speed, you won't be outspeeding too many things, so that is important to keep in mind when using this Pokemon. But with that, let's take a look at the first of the three sets that I have for you in this video. So first off for this set, we're going to start by giving Hypno a bold nature to increase its physical defense but lower its physical attack. And then we're going to go with the ability Insomnia so that we cannot be put to sleep. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into HP to give us our max HP, 252 into our physical defense to give us our highest physical defense possible, and then 4 for speed to just give us that extra point in to maybe outspeed other things that could potentially be faster than Hypno with the same base speed. And as for the item, we're going to be going with Leftovers. Now the first move of this set, and like all the others like I stated before, is going to be Substitute because it's a move that Hypno can really make use of. So with Substitute, we're also going to be running Calm Mind, which is fantastic for this Pokemon because it boosts its already ridiculous special defense stat and its and its special attack stat as well to make it a little bit more offensive. And when you have a Substitute up with, 252 HP and 252 physical defense, with a Calm Mind boost on your special defensive side, those substitutes are going to be pretty difficult to break, thus allowing Hypno to get more Calm Mind boosts, potentially, and then start taking things out with Psychic. Now, as for the last move of this set, there are actually two options that you could go with, and both would work really well. From a more team-based standpoint, you could potentially run Baton Pass on Hypno to allow it to pass off its stat boosts to other members of the team, as well as a substitute potentially. Or if you want Hypno to be more of like the star of the show, you could give it Focus Blast. That stands for Focus Blast, not Fire Blast. I feel like someone was going to think that. As a way to give it a good secondary attack move. Psychic and Fighting work really well together in terms of type coverage, so that would be fantastic to do as well. But overall, this is a really solid set for both Baton Passing or boosting for Hypno, and with Substitute and a few Calm Minds up, as I said, it's going to be really hard to break that sub with those EVs in your defense and HP. As for this next set, We're going to start by giving Hypno a careful nature to increase its special defense and lower its special attack, and then again we're going to be going with the ability Insomnia. As to the EVs, we're going to be fully special defensive this time, so we're going to put 252 EVs in HP to give us our max HP, 4 for attack, and then 252 EVs into our special defense to give us our highest special defense possible. And for the item, again, we're going to be going with leftovers just for that little bit of recovery every turn. For the moves though, the first one again is going to be Substitute as a way to get behind that protective barrier, but with this set we're actually going to be using Substitute in a completely different way, and basically as a way to completely take advantage of all the crap we're going to be throwing at our opponent. So first we're going to be going with Flatter as a way to confuse our opponent. Flatter, it works similar to Swagger, except Flatter boosts your special attack by 1 stage. And since Hypno has such a massive special defense stat, that 1 stage boost to Flatter, or that Flatter gives the opponent, really isn't going to matter that much. So really we're just after the confusion with that. And then with Flatter, we also have Thunder Wave. I know I skipped a move for a sec, but Thunder Wave is there to obviously paralyze our opponent, make them slower than Hypno, because as I said before, Hypno really isn't that fast. And then you can get the whole Parafusion thing going on. And on top of that, we also have Zen Headbutt, which is a nice stab physical psychic type attack move with the chance to flinch. So with all of this going on, your opponent's going to be confused, they're going to be paralyzed, and they could flinch, and that's going to be basically crippling your opponent entirely. They're going to have literally a very, very, very small chance to actually attack you. And this is where Substitute comes into play because, or comes into play especially well because of if your opponent is confused on a turn, you set up a free sub, or if they're paralyzed on a turn, you get a free sub, and then you can continue to attack with Zen Headbutt behind the sub to make it so that your opponent will basically never break your sub by getting the hacks that you'll be getting from this. It's a really fun set to use. It's really great to mix things up like this, and Hypno is one of the few Pokemon that can actually run a set like this. Rotom fan form is very well known for running a set like this. It's like Confuse Ray, Thunder Wave, and Air Slash. This is basically the same thing. So it's a very difficult set to break, and it's a lot of fun to use. As for this last set, this is actually my favorite Hypno set, period, so I'm actually really excited to share it with you all. So we're going to start by giving it a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but lower its special attack, and then we're going to be going with the ability Insomnia. Now, since this is a more offensively based set, you could think that going with Inner Focus would be better just because it makes you immune to like the flinch from Fake Out, but unfortunately you can't run the Dream Mode ability with a couple of these moves because they're from past generations that are incompatible with it. So Insomnia is the way to go. As for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into HP, 252 into her physical attack, and then 252 EVs into her speed to give us our highest physical attack possible, our highest speed possible with the Jolly Nature, and an HP that is divisible by 4, which is very important because it'll allow us to use Substitute and Belly Drum to sub and Belly Drum down to our Slackberry, which is the item of the set, to allow us to boost our speed by 1 stage. And since I've said this before, Hypno isn't the fastest Pokemon ever, a Slackberry is fantastic for this guy because it'll allow it to now outspeed a ton of things after this boost. But as for the moveset, Substitute obviously is there because I said it's in all the sets, and then Belly Drum, which I just mentioned, is absolutely fantastic because they work so well in combination with each other. After a Substitute and a Belly Drum, you'll be at +6, and then your Slackberry will activate because your HP is divisible by 4, which is why that's really important. And with a Belly Drum under Hypno's belt, it has quite a bit of offensive power, which, as I said before, wasn't going to happen without some attack boosts. So now that you're at +6, you can do some serious damage with the 2 attacking moves for this set that I recommend, which are Zen Headbutt as a main stab attack. Obviously, it has that chance to flinch, as I mentioned before in the previous set. If you're worried about accuracy, though, because it isn't 100%, you could potentially go with Psycho Cut if you really wanted to, but I would just rather go with Zen Headbutt because it's a lot cooler. And then for the second move of this set, you're going to go with Drain Punch. And this move is absolutely fantastic on this set because not only does it give you a lot better coverage, allowing you to hit Steel types for super effective damage with Zen Headbutt can't really hurt, as well as Dark types, which Zen Headbutt cannot even hit because they're immune to it. Drain Punch will also be recovering a ton of health, which you're losing by using Substitute and Belly Drum. So it's basically, let's get to +6 and then heal all that back. It's a really, really awesome move to have on this set, and it's awesome that Hypno learns it. But overall, this set is super effective, ha 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 ha, and I really, really enjoy using it. And it's really surprising because most people don't know Hypno even gets Belly Drum, and most people expect Hypno to be a wall of sorts. So being able to set up offensively in such a way that you could potentially sweep your opponent's team right off the bat is absolutely fantastic for this Pokemon. But with that, let me just prove this a little bit by showing you some video footage that I had in a match in Pokemon Showdown. So let's get to that right now. So I start things off by giving you a brief demonstration of what happened beforehand. Basically, Golbat taunts me so I can't Will-O-Wisp it, so then I Thunderbolt it anyways. Now that it's at 50%, I know it's going to want to Roost, so I take this opportunity to switch out into Hypno, and then proceed to set up. So I go for Sub first, get me down to a low range of HP, and then Belly Drum right away. Now I'm at +6 with +1 speed from the Slack Berry, and this Vigoroth decides to bulk up, thinking I'm probably not going to be able to do much to it because Hypno's a wall, right? So I Drain Punch it, super effective obviously, and now I'm at half health, Drain Punch it again, and now I'm above half, which is why this move is so good. He brings in his Golbat, obviously super effective Zen Headbutt, it can't take that, and now it only has its Samurott left, which it forfeits right away, or my opponent forfeits right away, knowing that Hypno is probably going to kill it. I did a damage calc just to make sure, and Zen Headbutt would have taken it out. I'm pretty sure, even if it was max defense, I still had a chance to take it out. Most people don't run max defense Samurott, so Zen Headbutt would have been a one-hit KO on that too. So as you can see, this set is pretty freaking awesome, and I love using it. So I hope you enjoy this little exhibition of Hypno, especially that last set, because I think that one's really awesome. This Pokemon is really overlooked a lot. I noticed that, and even when I was making these sets, I was like, wow, this Pokemon can do this? But anyways, that is it for my video, so happy Halloween, everybody, and as always, take care and goodbye.